This is the start of a lesson series which will be available on Patreon in the future. So this first video is kind of for free. So if you want to see the whole video series in future, maybe you would like to become a patron on Patreon. So the series will be about the use of the Highland Dirk, which is the thing here on my right hip. The Highland Dirk is known as being the long knife or long dagger of the Highlanders. So the Highland clansmen and also later the Highland regiments used this in close quarter combat as an everyday tool, and it was also a symbol of being a full clan member, of being part of the clan. So for example, important oaths were sworn on the holy iron of the Dirk, and if someone would betray his only oath, he would die with the same iron. So this was an important part of Highland culture, not only a tool, not only a weapon. What will be the practical video lesson series about? We will go through footwork, guards as far as they existed, about practical applications of unarmed defense against an ambush with the Dirk, and of course using the Dirk against another fighter armed with the Dirk. And we will also look into the use of the Dirk in combination with the Highland broadsword. We will also have a look on the Dirk specifically being used in the left hand or on the same hand as you are using your Taj. So this will be covered as well. Concerning sources, we know that there is not a real manual about the use of the Highland Dirk existing, or if it is existing, if it has not been found yet. But as far as Highland society is concerned, Gaelic culture was much a culture of lore, so passing knowledge through from person to person, from generation to generation, through songs, through poems, through direct teaching in person, and not really writing down something or writing a manual. So same as with the Highland broadsword, we don't have much directly from Highland clansmen about the use of the Highland broadsword, and the same is true for the Dirk. So we have not really a manual. I mean, we have manuals for the Highland broadsword, but we don't have really manuals how to use the Highland Dirk. However, we have a lot of material where the Dirk is mentioned. We have historical books, we have texts from the period, we have descriptions by several people describing Highland society, Highland culture, and we know that we have to take care, especially with manuals or with books from the 19th century, how authentic they are. But when you compare all the sources you have, like Logan and Archibald MacGregor and whatnot, and you compare the description about several things concerning the Dirk, you will find a lot of overlapping. Okay, there's not too much of a controversial discussion about, okay, this source says this and this book is writing this, so we can say, okay, what the little we know about the Dirk seems to be true and seems to be correct, even though if a book was written in the Victorian period. But we have to take care of the details. And of course, these books don't tell us really a lot about practical applications, like if the attacker does this and you are doing this. So the cultural, the heritage, the history, and a lot of things, the position of the Dirk in Highland society, about that we have a lot of material, and on my Facebook page, I will put a link down below to my Facebook page in the video description. About this we have a lot of material, and I will share some of these works are available on Google Books for free, and you can read them and download as the PDF file and so on. So I will share this material so you can go deeper into these books we are using to understand the history and the context within the clan society of the Dirk. So from the practical point of view, what we are doing is we use the descriptions we have to get a start where we can say, okay, we know this is true about the Dirk and this makes sense in its use. So for a start, an example, you see I'm carrying my Dirk. This is a not very expensive replica. There are much more beautiful Dirks outside, made by wonderful bladesmiths. But this does its job. It's a simple, primitive, early Scottish Dirk made by windlass, and it's a sharp one. And from all the Dirks available in shops like Cold Steel, Windlass, Hanway and whatnot, this was one I liked the most from handling and quality and also the price. It's not so expensive, but it's still a good quality dagger. So yeah, what I was saying was I'm carrying here the Dirk on my right hip, and this is something which was described very often, that they were using the Dirk on the right hip. And from a practical point, this makes totally sense. I will address this in a later video when we get started with drawing, with positions like that, but just for a start, we know that they were carrying the Dirk mostly on the right hip, so from here you can draw it quickly. And as you can see, this position, I'm holding it on my forearm with the blade point going over my elbow a bit, a little bit like a tonfa or a sai, and having the index finger on the pommel. This is a typical position. It's described in some books, it is described in some works, this position, and it's also shown in at least one or maybe two historical pictures. So we know this position existed. We don't know if everyone used it, we don't know if it's 100% authentic, but we have descriptions and we have pictures of it. So we can assume it is true that this is a position the Dirk was held. And this makes a lot of sense in many ways. I will describe this also in a later video about basic positions with the Dirk, but just for a start that you know, this position was described, and using it in practical applications works totally fine. Okay, though you will see this later when the lesson series will start. So we know they had it on the right hip, we know they had it on in this position. We also know that they mostly were using it in what is called an ice pick grip or a dagger grip. Of course, you can use the Dirk also in a knife grip or even with the thumb on the back of the blade in what is called sometimes a saber grip. You can use it like that too, but the most devastating effect as a stabbing dagger is in this ice pick or dagger grip. From the origins of the Dirk, there's some discussion about the real origins. We know that there was drawn a line to medieval ballock daggers and medieval rondel daggers because there are some similarities, and I think in some parts this is true, but on the other hand we can see that in Gaelic Ireland, for example, long knives called a scian, which were very much like this but mostly much longer, were already used in the 15th or 16th century. And so we think maybe it's kind of an own Gaelic development, or maybe it's kind of Gaelic ideas were at some point being combined with ideas just common in England and elsewhere. Like the ballock dagger maybe influenced the design of later Dirks. But this is also a topic for more research, so there's a little bit of discussion about it, and I'm not sure which one is true. But personally I think both ideas are good, and I personally think that the idea of some medieval dagger types and some already existing Gaelic types of knives were building a combination weapon and were influencing each other or in one direction. So yes, we know that the Dirk was used possibly in medieval period already, and of course later in the 16th century, we already have hints that the dirk was in use, and especially with the beginning of the 17th century, it is clear that the dirk was a common sidearm for the Highland clansmen. So there are different training tools available. Of course, you could buy some kind of steel dirk with a blunt blade, but of course for safety and sparring and free play, and especially when you want to do realistic drills and you don't want to wear too much protective equipment, it's not so good to use blunt steel daggers, except you find a good bladesmith who makes you a little bit of a flexible blade. I know there are rondel dagger trainers made of steel which have more like flexible spring blades. I'm not aware of any Scottish model existing, but I'm sure if you want to, put some money into your training, you can find a bladesmith who can make you a very nice dirk with a blunt blade, which has maybe a little bit of flex. It's always difficult to make good training blades, especially short training blades with a little bit of flex, so you could stab your training partner with full force. I think it's not possible, and you have to take care with every training tool. So what we use are 3 different types of training tools. I start with the most simple, a stick. So this is a round wooden stick from a tool market. They are normally 100 centimeters long, so if you buy one for 4 or 5 euros, you have 2 training dirks already. You just have to cut them in half, and then you have a nice wooden training tool, pretty simple. You can put some tape up here for having kind of a grip, and it does its job. Okay, it's not flexible. You have to round the tip a bit so that you do not scratch your opponent, your training partner, too much during training. So with some sandpaper you can make it a little bit more smooth, and that's it. It's a simple training tool which does the job, and you can do all the techniques without any problems. Okay. If you are more into the kind of synthetic training tools, which we are also using by Black Fencer, there is a Highland dirk existing made by Purple Heart Armory. It's available in different online shops, and at the beginning I was not very pleased with it, but now I start to kind of like it a lot. It's also not very flexible, as you can see, so this issue remains. They could have done you can maybe see the tip here is a little bit pointy. They could have done this a little bit better, but you can round it yourself a little bit more. What I like is the shape of the grip. Okay, I don't like this purple cord wrapping, but this is kind of their trademark. You could use any other paracord you like. I don't know if they offer a customized version with another paracord color, but as you can see, the shape, I'll try to show you here, the shape of the handle is very much more realistic than a stick. So this feels nice in hands, especially when you are using bigger gloves. I realized that when you're doing, for example, broadsword and dirk together, it's better to use a bigger glove. There are like these lacrosse gloves, ice hockey gloves, special HEMA gloves, which are more bulky and more have better protection. So I think I personally like that shape because it's feeling better in hands. It's not turning so much when you use it, and yes, I start to like it. And of course you can do pretty much safe training. Of course you have to be careful with brutal stabbing, but you can do all the grips you need. You have nice feeling in your hands, and of course if you're a bit of a craftsman or you know someone who can do it, you could also have another type of handle. I'm pretty sure that you could do some nice wooden handle. You could make some nice wooden handle on it, put it on it and whatnot, or you can use another type of color of paracord. But to be honest, it doesn't really matter which color the paracord has. It doesn't really matter if it's wood or if it's this kind of paracord. It feels nice in hand, so it's a good training tool at all, and it's not very expensive. Another training tool available which you could use are, for example, different trainers used for rondel daggers, for medieval daggers. So this is also a possibility to use some dagger like this. But I never tried them out. I know there are some reviews existing, I think by Matt Easton and other HEMA YouTubers, which you might want to check out. Maybe there are good training tools too. I know some of our Catering Society members are also using this kind of daggers. So just check it out, try it out. I think the most important thing is that it is long enough, that it's not too short and you don't have any type of a cross here, so that is more resembling a Highland Dirk or a dagger type. So you try it out. Finally, we use in the Broadsword Academy Germany this type of aluminium training dirks. They are made by the Aluminium Arsenal, who makes a lot of very good aluminium training weapons. If you remember our older videos in the past, we have swords made of it. Our two-handed swords are still the Aluminium Arsenal two-handers, and he makes really good training swords made from aluminium. All kind of things you can imagine. He has some things in his shop. He has also some custom work he can make for you, and except of complex hills like basket hills, he can do like everything you can imagine. So check it out. He has, we'll put the link in the description below. He's a good friend of us, and his work is worth to be supported by your purchase. So advantages and disadvantages. Of course, this looks and feels more like a real steel dagger. The handle is again in the right shape. It's a little bit more massive than it should be, but it's still okay. We created the handle length back then, especially with the idea of using bigger gloves. I think about making a new model which is shorter and a little bit of a more narrow grip, but in terms of realism and in terms of function and especially durability, this thing is like indestructible. You can use this very much realistic as a Dirk training tool. Of course, again, here's the problem: aluminium is not very flexible, so you have to take a lot of care when you are doing free fights or harder, more realistic drills. You have to, stop your step, or you have to pull it back. Though this can really hurt. So you would like, especially when you're using cuts also with it. And you want to do, like trapping the hand and all the techniques I will show you in the later video lessons, then you should really take care of using a lot of protection or enough protection, because this thing, cutting your fingers only with a light glove, this will really hurt. Okay, could break fingers. So I got once my index fingertip broken by an aluminium training weapon. I was wearing big gloves, ice hockey gloves, and I was hit a little bit unlucky where the protection ended, so it was only a little bit protection for my finger, and it was really cut into half. So it was not really bad, but later in the night it hurt like hell, and I had to go to see the doctor and find out, oh, my fingertip is broken. So a lot of left-handed training. It has some advantage. I was forced to do a lot of left-handed training in this time because I could not use my right hand for like, I think 2 months or so until it was ready again. So just a little side story: wear enough protection when using training weapons, especially these aluminium weapons. But as you can see, it's like 6 millimeters of material, so they are not that narrow. So the weight and the balance is becoming pretty realistic, and the stabbing, of course, you could do the point a little bit more rounder and a little bit broader, but in generally speaking, we had very good experiences with this kind of training weapon. And this is really a good training tool. What sources we are using besides the little we have? Of course, you can look a lot into medieval dagger manuals, which we are doing. We are not adopting this material on the Dirk one-to-one, but we are trying to understand the principles of medieval dagger combat to get more an overview on the context, the martial context, how it was used. And the same is true for other knife fighting traditions, may they be Japanese or Filipino martial arts or traditional Italian knife fighting, and of course modern knife combat in the context of military combative, self-defense, and so on and so on. So we try to learn a lot about this from you know, other more established knife fighting traditions. We also use our Highland broadsword swordsmanship principles, so the basic principles, the body mechanics can be transferred from the sword on the Dirk, especially with the old style and especially with broadsword and targe. And if you want to know more about the historical context, then I will put down a link down below to the book by our Catering Society founder and first president, Christopher Scott Thompson. He wrote a book published by Paladin Press, Highland Knife Fighting, which is really good, and you get all the important historical and technical informations you will need, and which we will also find in this video lesson series, but you will also explore much more about it from our experiences of 10 years in exchanging, training and fighting with other people and exploring more of the Highland Dirk. So hopefully you will get some value of this video lesson series, and if you want to see it, you might be interested in becoming a patron on Patreon. As I said before, we'll put down a link below in the video description, and I would be happy if you support me. If you want to have another video about the Highland Dirk as a tool and a weapon in historical and in the bushcraft context and also the martial context, you check out my cooperation video I did with Tom from Fender Vidosi Wilderness Adventures. He made a great video, and we were exchanging a lot, and I was sending him some material of practical applications with the Dirk. So if you want to have another good start into this lesson series, you should check out the video made by Tom. I will put down below a link. It's a great channel he has. It's amazing work he is doing, and so you might be interested in this too. So stay tuned and see you soon again.